Welcome to the MiDOViA Menopause Podcast, your trusted source for evidence-based, science-backed information related to menopause. MiDOViA is dedicated to changing the narrative about menopause by educating, raising awareness, and supporting women in this stage of life, both at home and in the workplace. Visit MiDOViA.com to learn more. I'm one of your hosts, April Haberman, and I'm joined by Kim Hart. We're co-founders of MiDOViA, certified health coaches, registered yoga teachers, and midlife mamas specializing in menopause. You're listening to another episode of our podcast, where we offer expert guidance for the most transformative stage of life, bringing you real conversations, education, and resources to help you overcome challenges and reach your full potential through midlife. Join us and our special guests each episode as we bring vibrant, fun, and truthful conversation, and let us help you have a deeper understanding of menopause. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Denise Pyles. Denise is a writer, speaker, and micro-mindfulness coach with over 35,000 hours of mindfulness practice under her belt. Wow. Her unique background as a former nun and her work helping individuals in high-pressure environments find stillness brings a powerful perspective to today's conversation. Denise has made it her mission to help others discover nurturing stillness in a distracted world, and her practical approach to micro-mindfulness through one-sentence journaling, intentional pauses, and mindful self-talk mantras is truly transformative. In this episode, we explore how mindfulness practices can offer invaluable support for women navigating the often overwhelming challenges of menopause. Whether you're experiencing hot flashes, anxiety, or brain fog, Denise's insights will empower you to take small, intentional steps towards calm and balance. Let's dive in. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We're excited to have this conversation today. You have a unique background, and we know that you're going to give great insight and perspective today for our conversation. And I can't believe that you actually live in Edmonds. You are our neighbor.
Yes.
And, I'm sure that we have crossed paths in downtown Edmonds at some point, but it's great to have you on the show and to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
I just for our listeners, I met Denise through work and had a coffee with her a couple months ago, and it was one of those coffees that we couldn't stop. We wanted to be like checking our watch, like, gosh, there's so much to learn from each other. So really happy to have you here, Denise.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do. You have such a unique background, and it fits so perfectly with the work that we do with women in midlife and menopause. I think it'd be a great place to just start with the conversation to ask you about your mission. You have so many things that we're going to talk about in this podcast, but tell us a little bit about your mission and your ultimate drive.
Thank you. So part of my mission is I pivoted at midlife from a nonprofit organization, church work, to corporate with zero business experience. And what got me there was the sense of what I leaned on in my former life is that I'm a nun, and I lived as a nun for 8 years. And then over time realized I couldn't, for health and financial reasons, needed to make that pivot. But I leaned on those experiences of mindfulness that I learned as a nun to help me make that pivot to a corporate successful career that I'm in today in the tech industry.
Wow.
What stays rooted is my mission is the same, is I want to help people find mindfulness and stillness in life today, which life today feels like we are living in a ball pit within a bouncy house, and there's so much coming at us in life.
Yeah.
And true. I don't have time. I hear that all the time. I don't have time to practice mindfulness. And I thought, me neither. I mean, it's that sense of mindfulness is about, I would love to have several hours to do that every day.
Yeah.
I don't have that time anymore. I had that time when I was a nun. But those techniques I learned, and I named them as micro-mindfulness, like these small bite-sized pieces of presence that amazingly have a small activity has a huge impact on our lives and can help us in the bouncy house find our balance, pick out the right ball that we need to focus on right now, and be present to all the chaos with a clear mind and focus. And so I want to help others that know that you have it within you already to practice mindfulness. You no longer have the excuse to say, I don't have time, because and that we can all do it, even in a life that we're living today that is chaotic, that's stressful, that's constantly changing, and that AI is pushing us at the speed of faster than how we want to live sometimes. But we have that power within us to slow down, just to take a pause, be still for a moment, to clear our mind, our head, our heart, and be present. And then go at life as full of war as we can when we want to and need to.
Yeah.
So it's like refueling, right?
Yeah.
That pause is really refueling. Kim, what were you going to say?
Well, we hear often from women. We were doing a training session for a large group of women, and this one woman raises her hand. I'll never forget it. She's like, I don't have any time. I've got a disabled husband. I have 2 jobs. I have kids that are doing this. How am I supposed to take care of self-care? And I was like, just take a breath. Just remember to take a breath. So on that note, Denise, you post on LinkedIn every day.
I do.
Micro-mindfulness minutes. How many days in a row are you up to now?
I think it's 1,218 days in a row.
Yeah, it's worth following because it helps me take my moments of self-care. So let's talk about that a little bit. How can we take time for self-care? How are these practices able to support women with menopause symptoms, this mid-stage life? You talked about, your mid-stage changes. How can women think about this as a way of self-care? And what are your advice and guidance on those micro-mindfulness minutes?
Yes, thank you. So one thing in looking at menopause, and I can share this with this group because I was forced into menopause at an early time in my life as an adult. I was 32 when I had a hysterectomy due to endometriosis. And I suffered from chronic endometriosis for 6 years. I had 6 surgeries in 6 years because I was one of the few women where it grows outside the uterine wall, and to struggle with that. It's a pivot in our lives like that. It's part of that aging process. It's part of those life transitions that happen in our lives. And sometimes we're in control of that. We make a decision. And other times they try to control us. Those pivots do that. And what micro-mindfulness reminds me is that sometimes I'm not in control. And how do I just be present and release expectations and release judgment, being in the moment, or judgment against myself? And it's not adding one thing to my calendar to do that, but it's a mental pivot or a shift or like a short activity. If people have never tried mindfulness before, even to give yourself 30 seconds or 10 seconds, or like you said, just one intentional deep breath. Or I used to direct a choir, and I'm saying we would always start our choir practice pivoting from work or getting to there before rehearsing, is to say to everybody, take in a nice deep breath and sigh out loud. And that alone, psychology says, just a focused, mindful breath can help reduce stress. It's sort of like this mini power boost of energy. And so, did we have time in the day? We're so busy, but I took less than 10 seconds to do that. And so then it's like, can I build on that? Those transition moments of going from one activity to the next, or my attitude that hot flashes are going to hit me, the emotional roller coaster up and down. And how can that ball pit bouncy house, how can I know it's happening? And how can I just take in a deep breath and embrace that moment and know that moment will pass, and I can be calm and centered in that? Again, that takes less than 30 seconds.
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like habit stacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Trying to learn how to do this. So what's your advice and guidance for how to add this in? Like, how do I remember, oh my gosh, I'm stressed right now, I need to take a breath? Like,
yeah. How do you notice, right?
How
That's
do you know?
the first step, right? Is stopping to notice.
Yeah. So there's two things. One is that sense of desire. Like part of one of my habits that I talk about in the book I have that's coming out is setting your intention, like in the morning or anytime during the day, is that my intention is I want to be able to pay attention when I need to pause or when I need to take a breath. So that sense of mentally, and I write that down. I keep a journal with me just during the day, like a commonplace journal where I just take notes about what is going on in the day. And at the top, I write my intention for the day. Pay attention. What is the desire of my heart today? I want to lean in and listen. I want to be mindful of when I need to breathe. I put that on a sticky note. Mm-hmm. And then the habit stacking is maybe I pivot from one meeting to the next and I see that sticky note. Or the moment my phone rings to say, okay, I'm going to pause for 2 seconds and take in a deep breath before I pick it up and even look at who it's from. Or I try to have my phone upside down when I'm working so I don't see the screen. So it's habit stacking on pay attention during your day. What are some transition moments? Do you go to pick up kids at school? Do you go and can you drive in the car with nothing on? Like no podcast or radio or something like that going on. Just say, I'm going to just focus on driving. And at every stop light or every red light, stop sign, I'm going to take a deep breath and just breathe. Or I'm going to pay attention to what's going in my head and just mentally say, okay, I'm just stacking that on my to-do pile for now, and I'm going to stay focused on what I'm doing. So they're just short little, like it's finding out where are those opportunities in your day that you pivot from one activity to the next. I currently work fully 100% at home remotely. And so I have a shutdown ritual in the evening where I shut down my laptop and I just pause with my hands on top of my laptop and taking a deep breath and say, I'm letting all this go. It's not going anywhere. And nobody's going to die at work on this. And setting realistic expectations. And when I open it, it's going to be right here with me and I can face it tomorrow. So that's kind of like and like I said, that's 30 seconds of literally shutting down and pivoting to the next thing. So that habit stacking is helpful. You turn on a light switch, that's another one that's common.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's intentionality, right? You have to be very intentional with it. It reminds me, just things that come back, you don't realize that you've been doing it for so long. When I used to run, same thing, Denise, I would run and I would tell myself, you're going to hit that stop sign. And when you hit that stop sign, from that stop sign all the way around that circle is your prayer circle. And you're not going to do anything else. And you're going to turn the music off. And this is what it becomes. So yeah, you create those habits, but it has to be very, very intentional. Right. I love the Post-it note reminder too, to put that throughout the house so that as you're going about your day, you see it and it's a great reminder because we forget. We get busy and we forget as much good intention that we have. We're humans and we forget. I like your, I'd love for you to unpack the one sentence journaling a little bit more as well. Because I'm a journaler and I love that. But I know that for a lot of people, when you say journaling and you hand them an empty notebook, they don't know what to do with that. It's very overwhelming and not calming. So can you unpack that a little bit more?
Sure. I've been journaling as well since high school, and I've kept my journals since then. And I love it. And I do various forms of journaling. And one sentence journaling has really helped me, especially in times when they're very stressful and chaotic, but it still helps me connect with my mind and heart and body in being present. And the other thing is one sentence journaling. So even when people say, I don't like to write, I'm saying, that's okay. What do you like to do? Maybe you like to take photographs. Maybe you sketch or doodle. Maybe you like to talk. maybe, you like to draw. So when I was a nun, I journaled every day, and I was on a retreat with another sister, and English was not her first language. And on retreat, she had this 11 by 14 notepad, and every day she drew in color, like chalk and crayon, this incredible, beautiful picture of flowers or trees or something. And that was her journal every day. She had a picture every day. So like, for example, I'll move my phone. Like on my phone, I have the day one journal, and I made a folder called One Sentence Journaling, but it's one photograph a day that I take to say, what am I feeling? What captures my mood? And I take lots of pictures on my phone, on my phone in my camera, photos, but I choose one for the day and say, this is, and most often it centers around gratitude or watching the sunset in Edmonds over the Olympic Mountains or something like that. But for people, I do have on my website, I have also a free course that you could take on one sentence journaling. If you've never done it, the sense of like, I give you the prompts. You're not staring at a blank page. And you can have just a small notebook and number the weeks 1 to 7. And day one, what is it? And it could be a word. It could be a phrase. It could be a sentence. And then if your mind starts going, then keep going. Some people who do one sentence journaling is that a friend of mine said, I mark my calendar, in my notebook every hour, and I reflect on the word that I'm mindful of every hour. And at the end of the day, I've got all this word graph almost. And then I encourage people like say, give yourself a week. And then that 7th day, just pause and reflect on what you wrote. What you drew, what you sketched, what photographs you took, and then make a list of any insights about yourself. And then rinse and repeat. And over time, you see this pattern of days. The other thing I've had is that I didn't have it with me, but the 5-year one sentence a day, these little journals, and I started that 5 years ago. And I clearly remember March 3rd of 2020 writing, there's 9 cases of this COVID that happened in Kirkland. I wonder how long this is going to last. And I go back and look at that and I'm going, oh my gosh, several million people later. And, we're still, so that's those memories, those thoughts in the moment. So one sentence journaling, I love because I can help people, or if you've not done it, it's just a way to get into a habit. It's a way to build a consistent habit. It's one of the easiest ways to build a consistent habit around mindfulness, because first of all, before writing, it's like you're reflecting and stating what was your intention today. Reflect on your day, or you get a prompt. And my philosophy about practicing mindfulness is, in my graduate studies, I took a course on the spirituality of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of my favorite lines from AA is, take what you like and leave the rest. And that is the sense of mindfulness, is like, can you embrace activities without judgment and without judgment of yourself or other people? And if it's not helpful, move on, and it's okay. So the sense of like one sentence journaling is like that sense of habit stacking, that sense of reflecting, and even to say, my mind is racing. I don't have anything to say today. Yeah. It's like you own it and acknowledge it, and that is okay. It's like there's not a right or wrong way.
I love that. Yeah. April does her journaling in the morning, and I do a gratitude journal at night. So I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for, and they're usually related to what happened that day. Something great happened with my kids, or something great happened at work, or something like that. So it's sort of a journal in time and sort of a gratitude practice, which always helps me go to sleep. You emphasize mindful self-talk mantras, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not as good at my self-talk as I need to be. And I was just doing some work on trusting yourself with the commitments that you make to yourself, and how can you follow through on those. Talk about the mindful self-talk mantras and how they help you with, I don't know, body image, self-esteem, accomplishing your goals. How do you use that, and how does it help with a shift in your mindset?
Yes. So First of all, I consider myself a recovering perfectionist in my life.
Congratulations.
So self-talk, and it's a work in progress. And self-talk is very important. One of the things that has stayed with me all throughout my life in working on my own personal growth is that one of the most important voices you listen to and are mindful of in your life is the voice inside your head and what you are telling yourself. And Brene Brown has said this too. It's like, you would not say to your friends what you sometimes say to yourself internally. And so it's kind of that check. And the sense of embracing yourself with self-compassion. Can you hold yourself in grace and wrapped in compassion? And so the journaling or mindful self-talk can be just one phrase, a very short phrase, like, I am worthy. I am grateful to be here. I am loved. I love myself. I'm a work in progress. So those mantras are something that I can repeat over and over again to myself. And it's kind of this way of it. The image I have is like you're inside your head, you have an inner critic and this positive coach. And it's like, and I'm aging myself too. It's like a radio dials. You mentally turn the volume down of the inner critic and just turn up the volume of the positive coach, the positive that says, you can do this. You've got this. You are good in the goodness of who you are. And one experience that helped me with that mantra is at work. I was moved to a new building. This was before COVID. And I walked into the women's restroom to wash my hands, and I come out and there are sticky notes on the mirror. And it says, you've got this, you can do it. You're having a great day. You are here because you are good and you have something to give. I mean, it's like this. And I thought, this is so cool. So I'm taking pictures and,
I did the same.
Yeah. And every time I would just smile, and it boosted my energy. I'd walk out of the bathroom smiling, and I'm sure people who knows me like, what is going on in there?
Yeah.
But again, it's that sense of listening to that as a reminder of the self-talk that I do to myself. How can I do that? And I have to say, as a recovering perfectionist, that takes a lot of work, because under stress and under difficult situations, sometimes in life and in work, it's like, I just get mad at myself. And then I intentionally pause and I say to myself, let it go. You may not be at your best today, but you are here and present, and you will be better tomorrow. It's just that sense of the self-talk. And women, in menopause, it's that pivot, it's that life, and, the emotional roller coaster, and to say, I'm still here in this moment. I may not be able to control these emotions, but I can control remaining calm, being present, or being frustrated as heck that I can't, it is what it is, not in a way to negate that, but to say, I am here and I'm aware of this. And I want to face this with my best self that I can bring, even if it's not my best self today.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think too, Denise, just the transitions in our lives, especially for women in midlife, we're kind of oftentimes in this middle place, as we call it at MiDOViA, where our sense of self and identity is gone oftentimes if we're switching careers, or we're looking at picking up a career because we have sacrificed our career for children and raising family, and now we're empty nesters, and what does that mean for me going forward? And I know I've talked to a lot of women who have just said, I don't feel like I can do anything. I don't feel like I'm worth anything. I don't feel like I can add value. So that self-talk and those mantras can be extremely helpful in those transitional periods as well.
Yes. And I love nature. So I also talk to myself. Sometimes we do need to break a break where we don't do anything. And I'm very careful about that, because I can be really easy to kind of go off that edge and say, let's just watch Netflix and just forget about life and things like that. And then our rest becomes this long period of doing nothing. So I keep thinking it's okay to slow down and pause. And I say, go at a pace of a turtle. Turtles are just steady, slow, not at the pace of a sloth where it becomes like this. I've seen Zootopia where it's like this slow motion of a sloth signing paperwork at the DMV in the Disney movie, Pixar movie Zootopia. But that's a balance that we part of that is our own self-awareness and self-knowledge, that if I need to really just release, let go, let everything just be and not do anything for a while, give myself a break. It's like put boundaries on that pivot of what we're doing, and then bring ourselves back into what is that next thing. But again, that's individual, and that's each person's prerogative on how to do that.
Yeah, that's great. So before we get into how people can find you and a little bit about your book, let's talk about what people can do. What can they do when they're juggling their careers, their menopause, their kids, their parents, their all the things? What can they do, and where should they start?
So one of the things that I really encourage is that what can you do is to do something small. Set reasonable expectations for yourself. 1 minute. We all have 1 minute between something, even walking from one end of the hallway to the next. And just in that moment, you can take a deep breath. One of my favorite breathing techniques is boxed breathing. I could stop and just for 4 seconds inhale, hold for 4 seconds, like imagine drawing a box, release for 4 seconds, and then pause and do it again. Do it twice. Or just taking a nice deep breath. Or the other thing is I love just walking outside and taking one lap around the house. And so set yourself reasonable expectations to do that. And then build from there. In the morning when you wake up, and if your alarm goes off, turn it off, but even if it's attached to your phone, but don't pick up your phone and look at it. Pause and say, for just this minute, I'm just going to focus on what is my intention for today, and then move. So we can have that moment. Small and do pick one activity, or I connect a lot with nature. Nature's is a great calming mirror or to us. Or it helps us to pause and just be still. I could walk outside and say, pick a color. For example, pink or red. Walk outside and say, what flower or what of nature do I see in red? I love it like in the fall season and spring to say, today I just want to listen to see if I can hear any of the birds chirping. And just to be still I'm going to give myself 1 minute to do that. That, again, that's a mental reset, a recharge, and the sense is building on those micro moments and stacking those. And then over time, it's like, I've got this sustainable energy. I've got this sustainable focus. I have this mental clarity in the midst of all the chaos, all the pivots, all the transitions that I'm going through. And it's sort of like this, it's like your blood, your heart rate, is at a range. It's not just flat. Flat line is not living, but you're within a range. And so mindfulness helps you stay in a range of clarity. And that's, and that's the goal. And then that sense of re-energy, that reset, that presence of listening to someone can sustain you. So, but again, start small in the sense of timing. Arianna Huffington said she calls them 60-second micro steps. Do something for 1 minute at a time, and then stack that on top of that throughout your day.
I love that. I love that. Denise, we could keep talking. We, truth be told, we have a list of questions that we like to prepare before podcasts, and there's so many more that we have on our list. We're going to have you back because
I would love to. I would love
fascinating. But in the meantime, how can people find you? what do you have a website? I know you have
Yes.
a book. So why don't you talk a little bit about your book?
Yes.
Tell us where you can find that.
So what's coming out September 22nd, 2024 is my book called Burn Without Burning Out. I have the author copy to check for mistakes, etc.
Okay.
And so it's Burn Without Burning Out, 7 micro-mindfulness habits for clear thinking, decisive action, and recovery from burnout. I started writing this book a couple of years ago when I was reflecting on my own life and how do I want to live. And I asked myself this question: as an ordinary person, how will you spend your everyday life doing extraordinary, meaningful work with the time you have left? And so for women with menopause, it's that pivot in our lives of we see a runway look shorter and say, okay, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? How do I want to live? And it starts in our moments of everyday life. And so the book is the result of that. So you can find this on Amazon, and will be paperback, ebook, and Audible. So I did the Audible recording.
Oh, I'm doing the Audible.
I know. I can listen to that on my walks. I love that. Although I like to dog ear and highlight.
Yes, exactly.
I might have to do both. Yeah.
Right. And then I have a website, denisepyles.com, for resources. I do offer some easy, if you've not tried mindfulness before, I have a Start Micro-Mindfulness email course, 5 days, and then a 2-week course, free, everything's free, on 1-sentence journaling. And then let's see, and then I'm also on LinkedIn. I write every day. I post on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Medium. And then I also offer a weekly newsletter called One Mindful Thing, my daring perspectives on mindfulness. So it's just weekly tips that you can do, that you can practice or focus without feeling like it's one more thing on your calendar. So
you are busy.
It's not meant to overwhelm. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And by the way, listeners, Pyles is Pyles. So Denise Pyles, Pyles.
It's like piles of paper, but with a Y.
There you go.
I'm sure you've had to say that before.
And why are there piles of paper? I don't know. Anyway.
Right.
All right. Should we do the rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you coffee or tea, Denise?
I'm tea.
You have a special tea that you drink?
Yes. I drink English breakfast with a shot of frothed milk.
Oh, that is special. Okay. I might have to try that. I love all these questions because I try new things.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite podcast besides this one?
So my favorite podcast is On Being by Krista Tippett. I really enjoy her work. She has a great book called Becoming Wise. And she is in correspondence, NPR and other news media, but she also has a Master's of Divinity, a theology degree. And the way she asks questions to interview people, it's excellent. It's an excellent read. So
and are you? It's Being, Being.
On Being, Being.
Okay.
And Krista Tippett is Tippett.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. What's the last thing that made you laugh?
Let's see. I laughed at myself for walking out the door without my car keys.
You laughed.
I'm so glad you could laugh at yourself.
I laughed at myself, and I think this doesn't happen that much, but sometimes I do that. So I just laughed. I was able to laugh at myself.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, "Oh my God, I'm losing my memory," So,
yeah, exactly. It's healthy. It's healthy.
Right.
And then on a more serious note, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice that I ever received was from my 92-year-old mentor of business that she was in business and in life, and I took this as it was a positive message of saying, you are running out of time. Just go. Don't let fear hold you back. So it was her wisdom of saying, do what you need to do now and don't worry about, it's not perfect. It's not that you're running out of time. You don't have a full life. It's like we don't have infinite time to do everything on our to-do list or our wish list or our bucket list. And she's like, don't let fear hold you back.
Great.
That's great advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Oh gosh, we're going to make a list of all of this someday and put it all in a book is what we're going to do.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Denise, for spending your afternoon with us. And it's just been a pleasure. I'm so glad that Kim introduced us and that you took the time to be on the show. And
Yes.
listeners, until we meet again, go find joy in the journey. Thank you for listening to the MiDOViA Menopause Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. There are more than 50 million women in the U.S. who are navigating the menopause transition. The situation is compounded by the presence of stigma, shame, and secrecy surrounding menopause, posing significant challenges and disruptions in women's personal and professional spheres. MiDOViA is out to change the narrative. Learn more at midovia.com. That's MIDOVIA.com.